good morning, good morning, good morning, Grenada. It is a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful Friday morning in the Spice Isle. A special, special good morning to all of you listening and viewing, of course. You're listening to Hard Talk Grenada. A special good morning to those of you joining us on 97.5 City Sound FM. 89.5 CRFM, 92.9 Sister Isle Radio broadcasting from Hillsborough, Carriacou, and 94.9 We Noise Radio out there in Brooklyn, New York. A special good morning to those of you joining us on the live video. Remember to share the live, like the live, be a part of the conversation, and share it with others. It's been a very quiet week, I must say. There hasn't been much going on as yet, but of course we're coming into that week, of celebration where we start getting ready for independence celebration. And we've had long conversations here about independence, and we've asked the question and asked a lot of our listeners and a lot of our viewers to really search inside themselves and ask themselves the question, what does independence mean to you? What really are we celebrating when we celebrate independence in Grenada? Because it's a very important question, and I think that once we find the answer, once we all can identify the reason, then of course we would more appreciate, what's happening in our country. And of course, we advise that you look deep inside, look at what is happening, look at the development, take a good look at what has happened, where we've come from, the development that we have seen thus far. And that would give us a greater appreciation for where we are now. All right. Now, it is Friday, so the lines are definitely open for conversation. The numbers to call, 440-7377 for local calls, 347-329-3101 if you are overseas. And, of course, our WhatsApp is open to receive messages at 440-7377. Remember, we can't receive calls just yet, but we can definitely take your messages. All right, so feel free to give us a buzz, and we'll be happy to speak with you. Now, remember, there's a lot happening in the month of January. The new rates for the NIS have been implemented, so you definitely want to take note of that. And, of course, we've had a long conversation as to what those rates entail, what the NIS is all about, and what the NIS offered. And I hope that we were able to clear up a lot of the misconceptions that people have as it relates to the NIS and what they offer. Remember, the new rates, of course, are as follows. And I want to give just an example because sometimes we work better when we have more relatable examples. So the employees will now pay 5%, and of course the employers will now pay 6%. So if your salary is along the lines of $1,500, $1,500, your old rate at 4% would have been $60, $60 per month or contribution, and of course the new rate would be now be $75. Of course, the employer who would have then paid $75 under the old rate will now pay $90 under the 6% rate. And of course, we can give a lot of other examples, but of course, the NIS website is open. It's full of information. It's no secret. Everything is there for you to see. So just go on their website, nisgrenada.org, and look at all of the information, all of the queries and questions. Even some of the misconceptions are clarified there. So you definitely want to take advantage of that. I was listening to the national report yesterday, and something stood out most of all to me had to do with our implementation rate. And the implementation rate, I believe, for 2019 was 50% or under 50%. And that is very concerning because it means that the approved projects, or most of the approved projects that government would have not been implemented. And that is very concerning because with low implementation, we're looking at a reduction in the employment, because projects that would have gone on stream or should have gone on stream and created an employment opportunity, that's not happening. So, of course, it is going to affect the growth of our economy, So it's definitely an appeal to everyone, and that's what I was saying during this week, that it takes every single one of us, everyone involved. We must take ownership for our own actions. So we want to see Grenada grow and we want to see Grenada develop, and that's great, but sometimes it's a lot more than just talk. We have to also take action, So for the public servants out there who's responsible for the implementation, let's all just do our jobs. Let's do what we're supposed to do. Because at the end of the day, you're not working for NNP. You're not working for, a particular political party. What you're working for is to see Grenada grow and to see Grenada develop. You can't argue with that. There's no argument there. There's no justification for not getting your job done in that aspect. You're given a job to do, you're given a job to complete, and it is your duty to ensure that you do what you are supposed to do as a public servant in the public service. I mean, I can't understand, it baffles me how or why our implementation rate would be at that place or at that stage. I don't see any justification for that. Let's all do what we're supposed to do. Let's all play a part in the development of Grenada. At the end of the day, we all stand to benefit. We all stand to benefit from reduced unemployment. It means that you have less idlers. It means now that government has less money, has to put less monies into social programs. And that's more money to fund projects to help grow our infrastructure. That's more money to put into education. That's more money to put into agriculture. That's more money to put into tourism. So we definitely have to take these things into consideration. And when we look at things, we must look at things with an unbiased opinion, a logical opinion. It just doesn't make sense. Because when you think that you're hurting a particular administration by withholding your labor or by I want to call it self-imposed go slow, when you're not working to full capacity, when you're not doing the things that you are supposed to do, then it is the country that suffers. It's not particularly an administration. It's not particularly a person. It is a country that suffers. So when we should be at 80% and 90% implementation, we're still struggling to meet 50. I mean, that is unacceptable. And there's no one person to blame in this happening. It must be a collective effort and a collective decision that you go into your ministries and just do your jobs. And that goes for the private sector as well. We must all work hand in hand to see Grenada thrive. What's so wrong in that? Some of us are at the of the mentality that, well, if I do my job, or if we do this and if we do that, it's going to make this administration look good, and we don't want the administration to look good. So let's hold back on this and hold back on that. But the reality of the situation is, it's not the administration that is suffering. Because guess what? You may succeed in making the administration look bad. But in the general scheme of things, it is Grenada that suffers, because then another administration may go there, and you know what's going to happen? They must now spend all of their time cleaning up the mess that you would have made to put them in office, or that they would have encouraged you to make to put them in office. Then they waste all of that time trying to clean up that mess. And at the end of the day, they turn around and say, we don't have enough time. It's not that you didn't have enough time. It's that you created a mess for you to go and clean. So all of your efforts must now be spent in cleaning up a mess, whereas you could have just supported, helped to build, and strengthen. So that in the event that you do get into office, you can deliver on the things that you promised to deliver on, and not try to clean up the messes that you would have made trying to get an administration out of office. Let's just sit and consider that for a moment. So guys, remember the lines are open. Those of you who are viewing on the live videos, you are free to leave your comments. We'll be more than happy to read them here for you. And the numbers to call are 440-7377 for local calls, 347-329-3101 if you are calling from overseas. Just call, give us your opinion, be a part of the conversation. Don't let me just sit down here and talk for myself and you're all listening, and then afterwards you're saying, yes, she right, or no, she wrong. Be a part of the conversation. We love hearing from you. We love hearing from you because it gives us an idea as to how you're thinking, But there is something that I really do want to touch on, And I often say this here on the program, that sadly, as Grenadians, we tend to read to respond, or we listen to respond, and we don't necessarily listen or read to understand, so that we can make valuable contributions to any conversation, really. And it has to do with a circular that the government of Grenada would have put out a few days ago, I believe. A few days ago. And I want to choose my words carefully, because sometimes I'm baffled at why we continue to be hypocrites in a lot of ways. And I use the word hypocrites carefully. I'll explain myself very shortly. And the circular had to do with the involvement of public servants in private work. And I'm going to read the circular to you because I know it's been making the rounds on social media. And it reads, it has been brought to the attention of this ministry that a number of teachers are engaging in or seeking to undertake work during or outside of normal working hours without the appropriate authorization. All right? And of course, within the laws of Grenada, which has also been stated here, it says public officers, whether on leave of absence or not, are forbidden to undertake any private work for payment or to engage in trade or employment themselves in any commercial or agricultural undertaking without the consent of the appropriate service commission. And I want to read that again, and I'm asking you to listen this time. Public officers whether on leave of absence or not, are forbidden to undertake any private work for payment or to engage in trade or employ themselves in any commercial or agricultural undertaking without the consent of the appropriate service commission. It also goes on to say to undertake any private agency in any matters concerned with the exercise of their public duties. Public officers are not allowed to accept the auditorship or the directorship of societies or companies without the approval of the appropriate service commission. Principals are urged to bring the proceedings to the attention of all members of staff and to be guided accordingly. I would love somebody to call and tell me what they understand by that. Or leave a comment and let me know what you understand by that circular. Because apparently there are a lot of schools of thought, a lot of opinions, a lot of emotions flying about this particular circular. And before I even start speaking on it, I would love for somebody to give us a call and tell us what you understand by this circular. All right, I'm going to read it just one more time. Public officers, and this is law. This came out of the laws of Grenada. So the ministry didn't just concoct this circular and put their own thing in there. This came out of the laws of Grenada. And it reads, public officers, whether on leave of absence or not, are forbidden to undertake any private work for payment or to engage in trade or employ themselves in any commercial or agricultural undertaking without the consent of the appropriate service commission. It reads further, to undertake any private agency in any matter concerned with the exercise of their public duties. Order 27 also reads, the public officers are not allowed to accept auditorship or directorship of societies or companies without the approval of the appropriate service commission. And I want somebody to tell me what they understand by that. Because I listened to a radio program where some individuals were making some very, very rash comments, you know? And I want people to understand first before I start speaking on this, that this is not some policy that the ministry or that the cabinet just cooked up and handed to public servants. This is law. This is something that is written in the laws of Grenada. So we have our first caller on the line. Let's take this call. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, my friend. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
Well, you just teased my mind concerning this thing because I saw it on Mikey Live last night.
Right.
And first of all, I think that that circular has some errors. There are certain things missing from that because if you're saying that it is law, I haven't heard where the particular section of the law is quoted in that in that circular, which it should be. It should say maybe sections based on section so and so.
Oh, it's there. I just for time and length purposes, I omitted it, but it's SRO 27. It's an exit from that.
Okay, and is that something new or that has been
No, it's
something for?
always been there.
But here's the thing. Here is what I don't understand.
Hmm.
Um, Even though someone works with the government,
Hmm.
a public servant, um, why is it if he or she is on leave that they cannot take an extra job?
Okay. Well,
Because,
and this
for
is
example,
why
go ahead, go ahead.
I asked for somebody to call and give their understanding of it, and then I will speak on it after. So
All
your
right.
understanding is that they cannot take another job if they're on leave of absence.
Ex, that's not cannot. Um, it seems to me that first they need to get permission, which to me doesn't make sense.
Mm.
It seems to me that if they have to take up a job, they have to seek permission from the relevant authority before they can take up an extra job. And it's not making sense to me. I mean, I'm going to let somebody else call. For example,
Hmm.
um, police officers are public servants,
Hmm.
and I know that when police officers are off, they're on time off on holidays. Either they would drive a bus or maybe find themselves in construction or security or something.
Hmm.
I mean, it's just to make extra money. It's not that they're
So
leaving their job
so let me ask you this,
and
caller.
just branching over. Go
I
ahead.
want you to picture this for me for a moment, right?
Hmm.
So we have a police officer, a permanent secretary, a nurse, maybe a teacher, who
Right.
is currently on sick leave. That's a form of leave of absence, right? Or
Uh-huh.
is currently not on vacation, but has applied for a no pay leave, right?
Okay.
So we
All right.
have, because that's also a class of leave of absence, right? So we have these
Okay.
individuals taking this leave of absence. So that means now that government must, or Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, whatever it is, must now seek to find someone to replace, or they must utilize or shift around the resources that they now have to fill that vacant position while that person is on that leave of absence, whether it be sick leave or no pay leave or whatever leave of absence it is, right? That person, being in the employ of the government, took that leave of absence and is conducting employment elsewhere.
I'm listening.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I, I I don't take the sick leave part because I believe once you're sick, the doctor give you leave because of some medical condition. Um, you're supposed to remain home. The only place you're supposed to go maybe is at the doctor's office or the hospital, and then you're back.
Hmm.
But then taking a no pay leave um, to take up a private job in that capacity, I disagree strongly if anyone is doing that
Hmm.
in that way. I mean,
Okay.
because you're not supposed to take a no pay leave um, to go out and look for another job.
Hmm.
Um, Even though there may be circumstances, genuine circumstances, maybe they have too much bills to pay, they're not getting enough money. I don't know, but that's just my thing. That's
Hmm.
not putting a crown on top of the head of the thing. But in such a circumstances, I don't see it.
Hmm.
But how the letter is penned, based on what I have heard, both on Mikey Live last night and then you this morning, it does not seem to sound as that is the issue. It seems like, for example, holidays, like school give holidays, if it's
Hmm.
teachers, and then maybe the teacher or teachers might find another job somewhere else or some public servant there on their holiday, and maybe
Hmm.
they get some other job, and it seems in my mind, how the letter is read, that teachers should not at all, just or public servants, I should say, should not at all take a pankwai, make a pankwai. That's what the letter. That's
What,
the message that the letter seems to be bringing across.
well, you see, and
Mhm.
that's where we would meet at crossroads. Simply because the letter is very general. The reason that you seem to think that it means whether they are on vacation or so on is simply because it is the perception that is put out there. Because the leave of absence is general. Leave of absence does not include vacation. Leave of absence is whether you're on a sick leave. Leave of absence could be a no pay leave. These are things that are leave of absence. It was very general. See, and that's where we go wrong a lot of the times, because we don't take time to dig deep and understand. Now, this letter was sent to public servants. They understood the letter. They know, right? Because maybe it was explained to them before what they know what their leave of absences are. They know exactly what they're supposed to do. You understand? But we, the general public, and this is why I like doing these educational sessions, so that the general public who doesn't really understand can get a better understanding. Because you have a lot of people going out there on radio and saying a lot of things that are not true and misleading people and building this kind of emotional animosity. So before government puts out something, the first thing you pick out of it is the negative. You understand?
Yeah, because one of the reasons I would have taken that position and how I would have understood the letter is because, well, I only heard about it first time last night on Mikey Live, and the way how he would have read it, and I thought, well, that's very foolish. How could, I mean, if somebody is on vacation, why could they not do a pankwai? I mean, everybody does it. You're on holiday, whether you're working in the private sector, you can make a pankwai in your free time. You understand? So now that you're explaining it in that way, now I begin to see things differently. So, well, then I have a change of mind. I would say I have a change of thought. So I can't take what I would have heard from the media last night. You know. But then why is not the media educated before they go out and put out stuff?
Well,
Which is incorrect.
I can't speak for the media. I can only speak for myself, because when I read the letter, my first course of action is to call and get clarity on what is meant. You understand? And that's what we fail to do a lot of the time. We just think that we know, and we think that what we perceive something to be is actually the correct thing. But we must always remember that there are always three sides. You always seek clarity on things that you are not directly involved in.
Correct is right, yeah.
All right?
All right.
But thank you so much for your contribution. You too.
And thanks for clearing up my mind.
You're welcome.
So then I have a bone to suck with my partner later.
All
Take
right.
care.
You're welcome.
All right, bye.
Yeah. You know, and that's why I like doing these informational sessions, simply because there are a lot of people out there who have the misconception of a lot of things. And sometimes the media really doesn't help, because sometimes, and I mean, you can't fault them for that. Sensationalism sells, right? So you want to attract people to your page, and you want to attract people to watching your programs and so on. And that's fine. But I am generally, and this is just me, I am generally not for misleading people. And things sometimes must be explained in a truthful way and not just to gain sensationalism. So I'll explain. Now, the circular does not say that individuals in the Public Service Commission cannot have another job. It does not in any way say that they are forbidden to have another job. It does not say that. It says that they should not, or they are forbidden to, without the consent of the appropriate commission services. And I'll repeat it. It says that they are forbidden to or should not without the consent of. And guys, the lines are still open for conversation on this. Let us know, because apparently there is a very general misconception of what is happening. And I'll speak on the hypocrisy in just a moment. But there is a general misconception in what is happening here. All right? And I'll be honest, sometimes we as the general public condone a lot of wrongdoings. And then at the end of the day, when it backfires, we turn around and blame government. All right? So it says that without the consent of the appropriate commission, they are forbidden from doing that. It simply means if you have a little side job, or if you have an idea of doing a little side job, you have to inform your appropriate commission. Get consent from your appropriate commission, which I believe would be the Public Service Commission. So you're not asking your minister for a permission. You are asking the Public Service Commission body for permission. Let's take this caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Ms. Duncan.
Hi, good morning.
I'm trying to understand the whole reasoning behind this document and so on, because what's the real reasoning behind the document? I mean, I listened to all he said, but I as an individual, don't see anything wrong with somebody having two jobs, for example.
Right. I don't either.
Right? If somebody's on sick leave, as you just said a while ago, they shouldn't be working. I mean,
right.
That is out of it.
Right.
But if I'm on holiday, I ain't see nothing wrong with I doing a job, even as a public servant.
Right.
The law might be there. The issue is enforcement, because that should be across the board for every public servant.
Right.
But for years, no enforcement was taking place, so there are cases where culture will at times even be law, because if I've been doing something as a normal thing, I mean, it may not be the law, but it's a normal thing, and you allow it to go on for so long, meaning the people on the enforcing end, then that's the problem. Sometimes law does be broken, but the enforcer, the people who have to enforce the law, could be the one allowing the culture to grow. So this thing could be law, and the reason behind it, I would prefer to know the reason why this letter is out at the moment, because I don't realize this is law. It is in law.
Right.
How many years, but it was not being enforced. So what's the reasoning for it coming out today at the public servants?
All right. All right. And I'll definitely answer that. That's definitely part of what this program is all about. So I will answer that question. So all I can say is keep listening. All right? And your question will be answered. So it's I'll answer it. We'll get there. And I know a lot of you already know the answer and know you're wrong. Some of you. The answer is not because of the work to rule. That's not the answer. You know, I know we would like to associate it with. And of course, it's timely and it's the best explanation. But it's really not the correct one. All right? But let's go back to this. Each and every single one of us know for a fact or have come in contact with an individual who is either on sick leave, who is either on leave of absence. You know of these people. And running their side business as well. We all know of at least one person who has done that before. Some of us listening ourselves have done it. You know? But let's look at the broader concept of this. I have children going to school, right? Now, I would not like to know that my children's teacher is on sick leave and then I go in town and I see her in her private business selling. She's on sick leave, but she is still up and down managing her private business. I would not like to know that. I would not like to know that there is a shortage of nurses in the hospital, but we have 5 of them on sick leave that are in their farmlands. I wouldn't like to know that. And they took a no-pay leave or a leave of absence. I would not like to know that my daughter's teacher took a leave of absence to travel for 3 weeks to do some job in some other country. I would not like to know that. And these are the things that have been happening. This is written, documented fact. This is not just speculation. And you see, as the caller said, sometimes it takes very long for these things to be really enforced, so that when it is enforced, people believe that there's some underlying malicious reason as to why. But law is law and right is right. And you see, that is where the hypocrisy comes in, because there are a lot of us who know of these things that are going on, but yet still will sit on public radio and on public television and in public programs, and simply because you don't like the government would simply say, oh, the government is using this to attack the teachers or to attack the public servants. But are they wrong? Is anything in that circular incorrect? This is something that maybe should have been enforced a long time ago. Imagine the amount of children who have already been affected by these things happening. Teachers leaving school half day to go and do their private business. Public servants using their clout within their positions within the ministry to gain private work. You know? And it clearly states there in Order 26, they are forbidden to undertake any private agency in any matter concerned with the exercise of their public duties. It is happening. And not only is it affecting our children on the teachers' end, but that is why our productivity level is at 50%. Because when they should be doing their jobs, they are outside there doing jobs that will benefit self and hurting country. But then our taxpayers' dollars that paying their salaries. You know, right is right and wrong is wrong. There is no politics in this issue, you know. There is absolutely no politics in this issue. Look at this thing objectively. Because the circular doesn't say anyone supporting the new National Party. This circular does not apply to you. It says the Public Service Commission on a whole. So every single body employed within the Public Service Commission, this applies to you, regardless of what political affiliation you have. And that is why I keep saying to everybody, the public service is a rainbow. It's full of different political opinions, different political sides, different people with different political backing. You cannot poke holes and play politics in government. It just cannot work. Government is a system, it's a machinery, it's built with everybody and it needs everybody to work. So if I decide I'm not doing my job because I do not support my minister, or I'm not doing my job because I don't like the prime minister, it does not hurt the prime minister, it hurts the country. And I cannot emphasize this enough. We have a comment here that says, and I'll read it to you. This person is saying, the government took too long to circulate this. The hypocrisy of the union leader who admit that it's the law but is asking why now. He knows that banks and all other workers must obtain permission to get involved in any other business. The thing is permission. Also, they know for years there are government workers even conducting businesses during their working hours. It's time government workers even sign job expectations and be subjected to job appraisals. The abuse is becoming too glaring. Guys, remember the lines are open. The number to call 440-7377 for local calls, 347-329-3101 if you are overseas and you would like to share on this issue. I really want us to understand and make an and that's why I always say read to understand. Don't let somebody read to you and tell you what to believe. Read to understand. Look at it. You know, there was so much emotion mixed up in this circular, and there was nothing wrong with the circular. This is the law. It's been the law. How can you sit down as a union leader and now ask the government why no? So are you basically saying that the workers must ignore the law because the government is using it against them? I don't understand. Whether the law is enforced now, 10 years down the line, 30 years down the line, it does not take away from the fact that this is law. How can you condone something like this? How can you know as a union leader that you have members within your jurisdiction taking sick leave and conducting private business, leaving work within working hours and conducting their own private business? How can you? You see, sometimes I wonder if people even know what to support anymore, you know. I wonder, because we have now built a culture where we poke holes in everything and we play politics with everything and we look for negatives in everything, that we don't know how to decipher the positivity of a situation. We don't know how to tell whether something is good or bad anymore. Because we have wasted so much time playing politics. You and I very well know that this circular is very timely and that there are people sitting in public positions getting a salary to be productive but are divided because their time has to be split between the job that our taxpayers' dollars are paying them to do and their private businesses. Let's be honest. Let's not play that we don't know that there are people taking sick leaves and still conducting private business. If you're sick, you're sick. You can't be on sick leave and go in the garden and plant 70 avocado trees, and harvesting tomatoes and watermelon to sell at a supermarket. That's private business. You know? And what government is saying is not that you are not allowed to have your own private business. By all means. I'm sure they would support it because that private business is going to help to contribute to the economy. What they're saying is that it must not affect your job as a public servant. There must not be conflict of interest. And that is why we are at 50% implementation rate. Or struggling to get to 50%. You know? And this is not, and people like to say, Ms. Duncan sitting here blaming public servants. I am not blaming anybody. I am saying, let us do what we know is right. Let us support unbiasedly what we know is right. That's all that I'm saying. Because at the end of the day, we all stand to benefit. We all want to be able to benefit. Imagine there's a family sitting at home waiting for their father to get a little work in a project that has not been implemented simply because somebody didn't have the time to implement that project. Simply didn't have the time to get to that specific document to sign off on that little project. Only because they had other private things to do. Let's think about that. Let's think about a struggling child who continues to struggle because every Wednesday at 2 o'clock, at 1 o'clock, or at 12 o'clock, or at 10 o'clock, the teacher has to leave because, you know, she has to go and deliver her goods to be sold. Let's also think about a classroom that is sitting unattended until 10 o'clock in the morning because their teacher is in the garden trying to do their final little gardening before they get to school, arriving to school at 10 o'clock. Let's think about a classroom of students sitting unattended once again because their teacher has a bus and he's running it in the morning until 9 o'clock. So he can't come to school before 9 o'clock. Let's think about all of these things. Let's think of 2 classrooms stretched thin because a teacher has to be shuffled between because your teacher is on sick leave doing other private business. Let's think about all of these things. And tell me if the real issue here is the timeliness of the circular. I really sometimes wonder where our priorities lie. As a union, is your priority, is your main goal to bring down a government that you do not support? Or is your goal ensuring that you get the best for your workers? And the best for your workers is not always a salary increase, is not always a wage negotiation, is not always a negotiation for benefits. It's also ensuring that they perform at maximum capacity, to ensure that they are very well versed in the Labor Code and the Education Act, to ensure that they are implementing at a rate above 50%. Because it is very sad that we only hear the voices of the unions when these things become an issue. But when we have unproductivity, we don't hear them. We don't hear them when you go into the ministry at 2 o'clock and persons' desks are empty because they have left for the day. You don't hear them then. You don't hear them when you have teachers coming to school at 10 o'clock in the morning when school starts at 8:30. You don't hear them. You don't hear them. When all of the public servants who have been conducting their private businesses and suffering the public service, you were not hearing them then. But when they started to, or government decides to enforce the law, now you hear them. What is your priority? We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Sister Duncan. Good morning. I see you have a good topic this morning.
Good morning.
Yeah. And Sister Duncan, this thing used to go on way before even Gary time. You know when it stopped? When was the revolution? Because the revolution stamped out all those practices.
Mm-hmm.
People have to be punctual, have to do everything what is right. But when we went back to the ballot, everything come back again. So it's not something we're talking about what started now. It started about over 50 years ago. And sometimes the government turn a blind eye because everybody think because they vote for this government, they could do what they want. Who decide they oppose the government, they could do what they want. But the law was always there. It was always there, and the union no better. Because when you join the union say punctuality. If you don't show up on the job, the union ready to get rid of you. And we all know that. So for the union to start talking, we know it there, but why bring it now? No union leader with a good head and his shoulder will never say that. He have to go to his worker, or she have to go to his worker and say, we must stop it and stop it now. That's what the unions have to do. Go call a meeting and tell them, we must stop that type of practice and stop it now. In Canada here, I could tell you, Sister Duncan, you take sick leave and you go and play cricket, they have a camera watching you.
Yeah.
They catch you, you know you're gone. You lost your job. It's very strict here.
Yeah.
You can't tell them that you're taking, taking a break, or how you want to call it, and then come back and say when they catch you, they catch you in your own business. You don't have a job.
Yeah.
Somebody else needs that job.
Yep.
So for we in Greenland to sit down today now and listen to what you're saying, and making comments like we don't know that. Yes, the public who is not there, maybe they don't know it. This is what we have to educate.
Yeah.
But those who walk in inside, they know it.
Yep.
We used to just walk in, Sister Duncan, and walk out.
Yeah.
We come back for lunch when we want. But the revolution has stopped all of that. And everybody was on their toes. Maybe they wanted gun over the shoulder to do it. But once you've been genuine, everybody take advantage. Now the government decides, no, if that's the way you guys want to play the game, we're going to stick to the rule. And sometimes the rule is hot. And even the hot bad. But we have to live with it. Have a nice day, Sister Duncan.
You too. Thank you so much for your contribution, caller. Something I was thinking about the other day, I sat down and I was wondering in my mind because I had read something relating a government official, a public servant, that was moved from his current position and placed into another position within another ministry. And I've read a few stories about that. And I want to say this. We speak a lot about victimization. But do we really know what victimization is? I want to know, as a public servant, when you are assigned to a position, you are paid a particular salary. Is there any law that states that you cannot be moved? Is there any law that states that you cannot be shuffled? That you cannot be transferred? Where is the victimization in that? That's what I want to know. And sometimes we don't understand how much we hold government at ransom. And let me explain, and I shouldn't say government, but I should say we hold our administrations, our administrators at ransom. And I'll tell you why we say that. Grenadians are very, very politically charged. We understand that. We know that. Right? We understand that we are a very political society. Politics means a lot to a lot of us. So anything that goes out there that you seem to think should not happen, whether it's law, whether it's not the law, whatever your opinion of it is, we get emotional. And we tend to take to social media, and we tend to go in public forums and talk about how we feel about the issue and what we think should happen. And we rile Grenadians up and we get them all emotional. And government can't make a move because the people are making noises about these things. So we don't understand how sometimes we as Grenadians tie the hands of administrators or of our administrators. Simply because your reaction matters as much as some people say contrary. The reaction of the public matters. How the public sees and views and interprets any decision that the government makes matters. And that is what the opposition relies on heavily. The fact that they can swing it and twist it to make you believe what they want you to believe, because your reaction matters. We have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Am I calling Mrs. Duncan?
Yes, Hard Talk.
Hello.
Hi.
Very low.
Oh, can you hear me now?
A bit higher, please, darling.
Is this better?
A bit. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. All right. Mrs. Duncan, how are you?
I am fine. How are you?
Happy New Year to you.
Same to you.
Okay. I'm listening what you are saying. And I am gathering what you are saying. Listen, I come back to this country and I see what's going on, what I know. But this going off before time and going on sick leave and working, I don't know about that. If you're on sick leave, you're on sick leave. If you're not on sick leave, you are working. Now, I'm not telling no one what to do, but I think they should put a clocking system when people is working. When they work, when they're going out, they clock out. When they come back in, they clock out. And when they clock out and they're late, they take out something out for their money. That's to be fair with everybody. Okay? Yeah. And this bashing government to government, I don't think it's a very nice thing in the country. We are the government. okay? And we all should stand up and say what we want and what we don't want, okay? I went abroad when I was 14. I came back, now I'm 74. And I'm still working hard because I have a young child. I have to get her 5:30 to 6 in the morning. So I could still working. I can't miss the time, although I'm not very well.
Yeah.
But these things that I hear going on, and this down the road, they don't want to do anything. They want the money. I'm only there for the money. I'm only there for that. That should be stopped, right? The union should come in and stop that and be fair with us, okay? Right? And I'm not going to say too much because I don't know too much what's going on inside. I'm only hearing and I'm listening, okay? But you all should put a clocking system into with workers, right? And that is what I am saying. Darlene, nice to talk to you. Nice to talk to everybody. And if everybody disagree with me, can they correct me, please? Because I am not very educated, but I know right from wrong. So will they correct me, please? Good morning to everybody. Good morning to Grenada. Good morning to Martinique. Good morning to Carriacou. Bye-bye, sweetheart.
All
Have
right.
a good day.
You
Bye.
too. Thank you so much for your contribution. Thank you so much. Yeah. I mean, we can make a lot of suggestions, right, on what the government should do or what our administrators should do to curb a lot of the problems. But are we as a people ready to accept what they do? So government decides they're going to put in a clock-in system, as the caller said. That's a wonderful idea. That's great. But then there's some political activists out there who will spin it in some negative way. And we have a tendency, and this is no secret, we have a tendency of jumping on bandwagons that are sensational. That's no secret, it's the truth. You know? So government decides to enforce this law where you are not supposed to engage in any business that will affect your actual job within the hours of your employ, without seeking the permission. Listen, somebody just wrote here and said there were times when you as a teacher or a public servant had to write for permission to travel. You know? We as a people are the ones tying the hands of our administration. And then we are the same people that are turning around and saying that the administration is too slack. If you want to move a public servant from one place to another, apparently now this is a big issue. It is victimization when that public servant is not receiving any less of a salary. The only thing that has changed is their duties. How is that victimization? Do we even understand what that is, or are we just using the word loosely? We are the ones doing it. So all of a sudden, government must not enforce any of the laws that may seem to be a little bit, on the side that people wouldn't agree with. That's the road that we're taking now. That's the message that we're sending out there. We have to be careful, and we have to know what we want as a people. We have to know what we want. It's either we want a country that is structured and the laws are abided by, or we want to just do what we want, when we want, how we want, if we want. It can't work that way. We have to, as a people, agree on what we want. I listened to a conference with the Commissioner of Police just the other day, and the man is absolutely correct. He said, we complain that the government is not enforcing the law for littering. But who is the government? We, the people, are the government. You trying to tell me a truck going the back of Busheju, and you're driving in your vehicle, right? A truck in the back of the vehicle dumping stuff close to the river. We know that's illegal. right? You see the truck dumping the stuff there. But your first course of action would be to jump on Facebook and say that the government is too loose and they need to enforce the law. When your first course of action should have been to take the registration number of that truck and call the police and let them know, or to take pictures that prove. And that is the reality of the situation. That's what a lot of us do. We have gotten so accustomed with blaming government or blaming a political party for something that we no longer take responsibility for anything that happens within the country. How can the police enforce something they didn't see? So you're saying that the police should enforce the law, the anti-litter act. They should be more proactive. But you are seeing the actual act taking place. And you as a person, you ain't doing nothing. You ain't calling a police officer. You ain't taking a picture. You ain't writing down a registration number. But you just expect that they should know, because there is an alarm in the police station that says that anything that goes wrong, this light will blink and that light will blink, and the police will automatically know what happens. We have to stop that kind of mentality. I have been preaching. We have to work together. This must be a collective initiative. It has to be all of us. In matters of state, in matters of Grenada, there's no I, there's no you. There is we. There is us. It is our responsibility. How can you side with something that you know is absolutely illegal? How can you side with something? How can you try to justify something? How can you try to put a political spin on something that you know is affecting the country? It's affecting our productivity rate. It's affecting our education levels. It's affecting a lot of the things that should be done within the country. Even our healthcare system is affected by it. When you have an orderly that should be on work, but they're gone and deliver eggs. And these are just scenarios of real issues, real things that happen. So we have to wake up and understand. We have to wake up and realize that some things must be looked at objectively. And there are some things that are cut and paste, like the law. If you're not supposed to do it without seeking the relevant authorization, then if you do it, you're wrong. There is no black and white in that. We have to know what we want. So I just felt that it was absolutely necessary for me to come and speak about this morning, because I listened, and I said to myself, I can only imagine the amount of people that will become legal specialists overnight and specialists of character overnight. And I would start bashing the government and saying that they're doing this to spite the teachers. But how can you spite them with something that is a law? It's there, it's in the books. How can you spite them? And how could something like that even be considered spite? Because if they're doing it, it's wrong. And it means that there is a specific sector or there is a specific duty that they are neglecting for that to be done. So how? I want somebody to tell me how. Because I don't understand. I do not understand. how this even became an issue for conversation. We have to be mindful. We have to be mindful. Somebody is now saying from a very long time, you had to seek permission to work another job once you are a government employee. And don't think that these public servants don't know. There may be some of them that actually do not know. And then maybe in that, if you think of it in that way, then maybe some further education on their duties and roles as public servants must be revisited. You know, maybe they need some more education on that. But it's not only the government's job to do that. No. That is why you have a union. Your union is not only there to fight for you when you want a higher salary. That's not the only reason you have them. You know? Or when you do all that you could do to get yourself fired, you want to go to the union because you feel like you were wrongfully fired. So you go on to your union. That's not the only reason that the union is there. They must also serve their purpose to educate their members on the do's and don'ts of the public service. They're not there to only bring you in the streets and march and strike and industrial action. That's not their only purpose. They must do due diligence to their members and educate them. Because we all stand to benefit. You think if we're not more productive, if we are not more productive and making more money as a country, salaries can be increased? You think if we are more productive and making more money as a country, that the public service can't be extended employment-wise? But the same public servants that want to jump in the streets and make a lot of noise about we want this and we want that and we want the other are the same public servants who are unproductive. And mind you, there are a lot of them that are productive. And that's probably why we're at 50%. Because I can only imagine if everybody decided they were going to do that, what would happen to us? We have to do better as a people. You can't want more but do less. That's impossible. You cannot want more but do less. You can't plant 50 trees and expect to get 100. That's a different kind of science and technology that I don't know about. If you want more, you put out more. That's how you get more. You don't get more by doing half of your job and hoping to get full outcome. And that's not only for the public sector, that's for the private sector also. In order to receive more, you have to do more. So the other 50% of the projects that have not been implemented, you know how many people could have been employed? You know how many additional monies could have been circulated in our economy? Let's think about all of these things. See, we don't even like to hear these things. Because some people believe that because you sit behind a mic and you represent a political party, when you speak on matters, you only speak from a biased point of view. But if we are being honest with ourselves, we would realize that this is all fact. This is all fact. You cannot want to do less and get more. You know, you can't want to be sitting in a position as a public servant and you're underperforming in that position, and government must not have the right to move you to a different position. Or government must not see you as a value to another ministry and move you to that ministry. That's victimization. I don't understand how we justify this thing. We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller. Oh no, it seems like we've lost that caller. I don't know how we justify this thing. We just using words because it's available to us. We're using words. We have that caller on the line again. Good morning, caller. Hello? Caller, good morning.
Good morning. Hello.
Hi, good morning. How are
Miss
you?
Duncan, how are you?
I'm good.
I'm not hearing you that much.
Any better?
Yeah, hello.
Yes, good morning.
Yes, Miss Duncan. Yes. If you look at it like across the board, right? People, when you have on many occasions you talk, the lack of development and the way forward. I think I mentioned that to Shalon quite some time ago.
Mm-hmm.
They don't like the changes that comes in life, yeah, but they want to achieve the higher earnings and salary. But if you do not move forward, how you could achieve that? You have to learn to take risk. You have to learn. Everything comes by along the education.
Yeah.
You know, everything has to be done in such manner. So the people at all the times need to be upgraded. And many times you tell people that like, no, they don't want it. You know, they just want to stay the same way, and it is obviously wrong. You know, obviously wrong.
Yeah.
Today it could be a vendor salon on the street. Tomorrow you may have a shop, and the other day, who knows, you may end up with a supermarket. You know, but they still like that ghetto style, that life, that way. You know, people don't want to move on in life, and that is a major thing. Yeah, they don't accept that changes in life. And one thing, Ms. Duncan, I would like to bring to your attention as well is that when you look at it secondary, there are a lot of young people teaching young people. I'm kind of disappointed in a sense that you won't get the respect at the end of the day. I would like these young people who are teaching in secondary level could be started at a pre or primary school, and they build themselves up, because many times you see the disrespect. You enter school, and teachers don't get that sort of respect that you ought to. Yeah, I don't know if you ever observed that. Many times I see this, because the age group of the teachers and the students are not much far of a difference.
Well, caller, if I must interject here, I started teaching very young, and I taught at a secondary level, and I've never had that problem. I think a lot what the problem has to do with is, one, demanding that respect. Two, understanding what kind of what respect is generally, because we have a lot of misconceptions about what respect is, and then additionally, and this is for a larger conversation. We have lost as a society the core values of in teaching our children respect. You know, back in the day, a young child would enter a bus, and you'd see an elderly person come in the bus, and that child would get up and give them their seat. These things are long gone out the window, eh?
Oh yeah.
Long gone out the window. But that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, well, see, we don't. We have something called family values. We don't have that in Grenada. I mean, if I could extend this talk to another different level, but we don't see this, you know. And because of the parents themselves, how they conduct themselves front of the children, the children inherit that, and then you want to be wrong and be strong. That is where you see the whole communication and all those things fall apart. So when you see this thing going on and on, my point is that the future of the young ones that are coming up, it's not, for me, it don't look right at all, to be honest with you. You know, in every aspect you have to keep molding this kid.
Yeah.
And it's something which is, for me, is disappointing, but God knows where this thing is heading, you know.
Yeah. I definitely understand. Thank you so much for your contribution, caller.
All the best. Thank
All
you.
right, you
Bye-bye.
too. We definitely have to know what we want as a people. And I want to share something here with you. I want to share a definition because I'm big on education, right? I want to share a definition. And the word that we are defining today is victimization. What is victimization? It's generally an action of singling someone out for cruel and unjust treatment. I'll read that once again. Victimization is the action of singling someone out for cruel and unjust treatment. Let's take this call and then we continue. Good morning, caller.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Hello?
Good morning.
Yeah, you're coming in really low.
Good morning. Are you hearing me better?
Yeah, but I think it's on your side. Victimization, entitlement, words I've heard you and other people use on the show today. Development, progress. There is lots in Grenada over the last 10 years that has changed and improved the lives of Grenadians. There's lots that have happened over the last 100 years to improve the lives of Grenadians. However, at the same time, if you actually take a step back and look at us as Grenadian people, the things we are changing about ourselves are not putting us in a position to take advantage of the changes that has happened for us.
Yeah.
I mean, our country does not look the same as it looked 5 years ago physically. I can give you that much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going up to Certez yesterday. You go into Hermitage. You go to village after village, and you see roads looking different. Even the silly human that put the house in Molineux and ripped off the road, which personally I think they should be paying for that, but that's a different story. Force some development up in Montmartre in terms of the road so that the road could be wider. We seem to have the ability to point out every problem there is in the universe, at the same time point out every solution to the problem in the universe, and at the same time, for some odd reason, choose to not do anything about putting those solutions into play so that the problem could change. We could talk till our face fall off about how much things are bad. It's not going to change the bad thing. At the same time, we could talk about how much solutions there are. Unless we take action to implement those solutions, it might as well we just talk about how bad the things are. Mm-hmm. You said education. There was a show the other day I had to call in. We look at education as training and parenting as training. These words have power. Words are significant, especially when used to children. When your children hear you say things like you're training them, and they look and they see the animals that we have are also being trained, you don't think that we're going to equate us being an animal. When we also look around and we see that our society, the way how we behave, we're not taking advantage of the changes that have happened over the years. So our young people, when they come out of college and university, can actually stay in country and develop themselves and, have good paying jobs and being able to take their families on vacation. We're not setting up those systems, at the same time complaining that those systems aren't there. Question, are we waiting for a magical creature to show up to make those things happen for us? Or are we going to be the magical creatures and say, hey, maybe, that big hole in front of my house in the road, maybe I could ask the neighbor to throw in some gravel and I could buy a thing of concrete and the next neighbor could throw a spade. And maybe, we could buy a case of beer on the weekend and fix that hole so that, when the bus comes up blazing fast, my kids don't have to feel like you need to jump in the bush. You can actually have a straight road to walk on. The bus could drive on nice. We don't have to complain about the government ain't doing that, since the government is the people of our country and not 15 people we elect to represent us. Mm-hmm. This is very significant. Words are important. Education is important. However, if we're going to keep repeating the same thing over and over, expecting different results, there's a word for that. It's called insanity. Either admit that we're actually crazy or change our behaviors, and the things around us will change. Until we change, nothing in our universe will change. The water doesn't have ripples until you throw stones in it, but I guarantee you throw one stone in there, and everything on that pond must get touched by that ripple. What do we actually want? Do we want a country that actually is progressive? Do we want an economy that's renewable and sustainable? Or do we just like complaining about everything? And if that's the case, then admit to ourselves we like complaining, bow our heads, and keep going to where we're going, and everything is great. If we don't agree with what I just said, then change the behavior. Start talking differently to our children and each other. Yeah. Start talking differently to our elected officials, because that's your representative. That's your employee, not the other way around. The Prime Minister is not the boss of the country. We are the boss of the Prime Minister because we pay him. That's not being disrespectful. That's actually the most respect you can give. I chose you because I felt your ability to represent me is so good that I'm willing to put my life in your hand to represent me as a human being. So now do so. At the same time, if we don't hold the people that we choose to represent us accountable for their doing or their not lack of doing, then what we're saying is we like things the way it is, and we should continue to go this way, regardless of who is in power, what color they're wearing, and what dogma or ideology they're spewing. It's us that will change this country, not some particular individual that comes from outside, not some politician, not some magical creature. It's us, we the people of Grenada, the 110,000 citizens that live here. It is up to us to change our behavior. And then our representatives will have to change their behavior because they represent us. But until that happens, all we're doing is making noise. Have a good day, sister.
All right. Thank you so much for your contribution. Very, very powerful contribution. It was. Yeah. How much more can you really say after that? We have to be the change we want to see. You know? But we're going to go back to the definition of that word, victimization. Right? So if your ministry, your minister, your permanent secretary sees that you may be of value in a different position within another ministry or even within the same ministry, that is not a cruel and unjust act. Your salary is not being touched. You're not giving longer working hours. The only thing that has changed is your portfolio and your responsibilities. I would like somebody to tell me where is the victimization in that. We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller. Hello, caller. Good morning.
Hello?
Hi, good morning.
Hello, is anyone there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Miss Duncan, good morning to you, and how are you? You're very low, but I'm going to speak like all the callers said before. You know, and I must say Happy New Year to you too, Miss Duncan. Miss Duncan, I was listening to your program, and certain things are just summarized it up in one way. When changes come, changes does hurt. We as a people, we must be fair. When we get into a working environment and we find the system is slack, we take advantage of it. We abuse this situation. But all the government wants is a just weight and a fair balance. So give Mary her dress and give Jack his jacket. Mm-hmm. Let us be fair. If we be fair, things will work out right. Because at the same time, we want a country what is developing, and we want our country to go forward. Ms. Duncan, that's all I have to say. You take care. Bye-bye there. Have a good weekend.
Thank you so much for your contribution. Yeah, I would like somebody to tell me if being moved, not removed, but being moved, being shuffled, being placed into a different position with different responsibilities as a public servant, I want to see where the victimization in that is. By all means, give me your job. I will gladly take it and take your salary too. Because your salary is not being touched. You're making the same amount of money. You're working for the same hours. The only thing that has changed is your responsibility. But yet the government is victimizing. I would love to know where the victimization in that is. So we throw words around loosely and we say all sorts of big things that make us sound educated in the wrong context. We have another caller on the line. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Miss Duncan.
Good morning.
And pleasant morning to your listening audience. Well, Miss Duncan, as with this word victimization that has been, thrown around so loosely, well, what I find is that what they call in victimization now, I find that is what we had seen as progress and the way forward in terms of developing our human capacity during the revolution. Mm-hmm. Because during the revolution, there was hardly, I believe, a month will go by when people was not relocated, whether it was from the army into the public, into the public sector. People was moving around, and I don't see nothing wrong with government moving people around and using the skills based on where it is needed the most. There is nothing wrong with that. I see that as human development.
Of course.
Now, Ms. Duncan, the other issue at hand here is that, now, help me to better understand this. Now, the government is not saying that workers are not allowed to hold a part-time job or a second job. What they are saying is that, you should inform the relevant authority. The question I'm asking here this morning is, what is wrong with that? I don't see nothing wrong with it. I believe it is very important that your employer know that your second job is not in conflict with your current duties.
Yeah.
What is wrong with that? Can you imagine that a teacher has a part-time job, a second responsibility, and periodically it is in conflict with the regular duties? Who will suffer?
Yeah.
Our children. So it is important that these things are put in place to ensure that a problem that could develop does not develop. Ms. Duncan, based on where one works, there are certain jobs, second job in the public sector and in the private sector you cannot take because it will be in conflict with the nature of work that you are doing for your first employer.
Yeah.
And especially today when it comes to technology. So, Ms. Duncan, in a nutshell, I don't see nothing wrong with that. All what they are saying is that, listen, nobody is saying you cannot work, brothers and sisters. All what they are saying is that inform the relevant authority. You're not your own boss. You work for somebody.
Yeah.
I hire you. And all I'm saying is that I'm not preventing you from working, but I would like to know, when you have a second job, and make sure it doesn't be in conflict with what you have to do for me. Ms. Duncan, I hope I make some sense in terms of what my interpretation of that situation.
Absolutely.
I trust you will have a pleasant weekend.
You as well. Thank you so much for your contribution, caller. We don't have much time yet left, but what I do want to say is, you know what a lot of this has to do with? The issue of respect. Where everybody feels like they could just do what they want, how they want, when they want, without care and consideration for anyone else. That is a broad topic under what this, under all of the conversations that we've been having. Respect. You believe that the powers that be, that your employer is out of place for asking you to have the common courtesy of saying that you have a little outside job, and to ensure that they protect the productivity levels of their business, you think that they are wrong for that because you are your own person. That is the broader topic. Respect. People believing that they are untouchable. I employ you, so that is my only job. To give you a work and pay your salary. Nothing else. I shouldn't tell you what time to come to work. I shouldn't tell you what time to leave. I can't tell you how to dress. You understand? You engage in private clients under my business to fund your own private or to build your own private business. And I must say nothing. These are the kind of things that they're asking be condoned. And as a conscious, level-headed person, the answer to that is no. It is wrong. It must not be condoned, and we must not support that ideology. So what government is asking is not far-fetched. It's not new. It's not meant to be done in a malicious way. It is simply protecting the interests of us as Grenadians, so that our productivity levels can rise, so that there can be more employment opportunities, job creation, more circulation of funds in the economy, so that everybody benefits. And if you cannot see it that way, then there's nothing that I or anyone else can say to you that would change your mind. But just keep in mind that sometimes we are our own worst enemies. We are the ones prohibiting change and progress. And it is only until we change our mindsets, it is only until we start truly accepting what change is, where we start to appreciate the developments, the strides that our country is making. We're out of time today. Of course, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. Remember to tune in with us. Next week, we have a wonderful packed program. Grow what you eat. Support local. Packed program. We're going to look at it from every different viewpoint. In whatever you say and whatever you do, guys, be safe. Be secure. We always want to be talking with you and never about you. Enjoy the remainder of your day. It's been a pleasure.
Stay up to date with all that's happening with the new National Party, NNP. Send us a message via text or WhatsApp on 405-8683 with your name, email, and constituency. Stay in the know with NNP. Get updated.
Senior public servants participate in a two-day finance symposium with an objective of taking corrective actions to improve on the present rate of implementation. Details of this story and more in the National Report. Welcome back. With the details to the news for Thursday, January 16, 2020, I am Sherry-Ann Noel. A first project implementation two-day symposium organized by the Ministry of Finance, Department of Economic and Technical Cooperation, the Policy Unit, Ministry of Implementation, with funding support from the EDF and technical support from PricewaterhouseCoopers, began on Thursday at the Grenada Trade Center Annex. The symposium is organized with the objective of addressing the current factors affecting the rate of implementation with the objective of taking corrective actions to address the inadequacies. The facilitator for the two-day symposium is Mr. Fitzroy James, consultant with the Department of Economic and Technical Cooperation, and it is chaired in part by Alistair Bain of the Grenada Development Bank and Gary Smith from PricewaterhouseCoopers. Quinta Charles, acting permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance, in delivering brief remarks during the opening ceremony, put the symposium into context, highlighting what the outcomes are expected from the activity. Charles says it's extremely important and timely to find solutions to the present implementation challenges faced.
Based on preliminary data for 2019, our rate of implementation of the PSIP was below 50%. In other words, the government was only able to spend 50% of what it had budgeted to spend on its capital projects. This is a major concern, given its negative impacts and implications for job creation and for the overall growth and sustainable development of our country. Therefore, we are kicking off the year tackling this problem head-on. We have no other choice. Over the 2 days of this symposium, we will take a deep dive to really identify the root causes of our implementation problem and to come up with practical solutions to address the challenges.
The focus on the 2 days, she says, will be on the solutions to the challenges that will be highlighted.
What must be done better and or what must be done differently, be it administratively, operationally, in the areas of procurement, project design, project management, project supervision, or in our interministerial coordination and collaboration, or in our collaboration with stakeholders and development partners, as well as other areas.
In delivering the feature address, Minister for Infrastructural Development, Public Utilities, Energy, Transport and Implementation, Honorable Gregory Bowen, said he feels encouraged by the turnout of senior officers to what he terms as an extremely important symposium. Minister Bowen reiterated to the participants that there is a need to consider the long-term development of the nation during the discussions.
Today is a start of communication to you of the new approach to implementation. As a government, we recognize that we cannot afford to pay management fees for projects that are not performing well or not performing at all. We have a responsibility to be good stewards of all the funds that we have sourced from development partners and internally from our taxpayers. And as such, we have the obligation to manage and to manage well. The traditional approach to project management is that we keep an eye on the cost, the budget, the time, that is the scheduling of activities to ensure that we meet deadlines, and last but not least, the quality, that we meet the requirements of the project.
There is a need to go beyond the traditional approach, Minister Bowen says, as implementation is and will be the core of government's approach.
I therefore urge you to work as a team, each one of you, and indeed all public servants, a conscientious part of the whole of government team, to submit reports on time, to ensure the follow-up meetings that we ask are held and that we stay on course. Utilizing technology will make these mandatory tasks easier. So all permanent secretaries, all heads of departments, we now have the GD4 program, and it is not by chance. Make use of it so that we can do our implementation.
This is the National Report. More news after the break.
Did you join the public service on or after February 22nd, 1985 and have since retired? This might be important to you. Government understands that the NIS pension may be insufficient to take care of your needs. So, while it awaits the court's ruling on the matter of pension for public officers, government has taken action to protect your quality of life so that you can take care of your needs in the meantime. Persons who joined the public service on or after February 22nd, 1985 and serve continuously in an established position for a minimum 26 years and 8 months and retired at age 60 may be eligible to receive an advance payment, which when combined with NIS represents 70% of their last salary. For more information, call or visit the Pension Secretariat in the Department of Public Administration, Ministerial Complex, 440-3767.
Welcome back. Record turnout of Grenadians at the National Cricket Stadium on Wednesday to witness what was dubbed as an exciting start to the T20 series between West Indies and Ireland at the National Cricket Stadium. Ireland took to the crease first and placed 208 runs for the loss of 7 wickets on the board in their allotted 20 overs, while West Indies in reply mustered a 204 for the loss of 7 in their 20 overs, losing the game by 5 runs. Josh Little, bowler in the last over, who brought the game home to Ireland, says that his team got off their cracking start due to the dedication they gave to training that resulted in the victory.
Well, at the beginning of the over, I just chatted to my captain and I wanted to have a clear plan as possible and try to execute my skill, and with a bit of luck, it came off today, so happy with that.
The young bowler says he looks forward with great anticipation for the final 2 games in the T20 series at Warner Park, St. Kitts.
Hopefully a repeat of today. We'd like to win the series, so that'd be nice if we could repeat today.
Would there be any, go with the same team, or what's the team plan?
I'm not sure right now. Just relax for the evening and then travel to St. Kitts tomorrow, and then we'll decide when we get there.
Dwayne Bravo, who has returned to international cricket after announcing his retirement in 2018, gave a review of West Indies team performance.
It's good to be back, and I'm happy I given this opportunity again to represent West Indies once more. I feel the love from the people here in Grenada, and even walking into the hotel and stuff, even the maids, everyone is happy, and you see a bunch of kids come here with the welcome back DJ Bravo sign. So those things make me feel really proud, and I'm happy to be a West Indian, and know that I am still loved and appreciated by the fans. Not the result we wanted, but again, in cricket, you win and you lose, but I think with the fight that we give, with the bat, with the chasing over 200 is always a difficult chase, but to lose the game by 5 runs, I think it's a great team effort. The Ireland get off the flyer. They bat very well, both Paul Stirling and O'Brien. They put us on a lot of under pressure in the first 6 overs, which set up the game for them. But again, we fight back. The way Hayden Walsh bowled in the middle overs, my next 3 overs was good. Cotterell finisher of the innings well, and Carriacou as well. So there's a lot of positive you can take out of it, because at one point they will expect to be chasing 230, 240 with the start that they get, and we restrict them. So all in all, it was a great team effort all around. Barring the results, I think the way how Evan batted, the way how Simmons batted, Polly, Hitmire, they all play those cameo. You look at Puran as well. So I feel good to know that amongst this talented squad here.
Bravo told the GIS that his aim is not to take anyone's position, but to share the experience with the younger cricketers on his team.
My role is not really to come back to try and take anyone's spot or to play every game, but it's to try and share whatever knowledge I have and gain over the years to try and pass it on to these younger players, because I believe with a captain like Polly and a coach as Phil, that these young players could produce great things for West Indies in times to come.
The Ministry of Infrastructural Development, Public Utilities, Energy Transport and Implementation is advising motorists and pedestrians to be very cautious when using a section of the road at Windsor Forest, St. David. The engineering team from the Ministry of Infrastructure recently conducted an evaluation of the area and found that it is unsafe for public use. And with that report, we come to the end of the National Report for Thursday, January 16, 2020. On behalf of the entire news and production team, I am Sherry Ann Noel, thanking you for viewing.